Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me on this video. I am here with my friend Kelsie. Kelsie, you're just a dear friend to me. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, whatever it is, I want you to know we are live on a Zoom call. So if things sound weird, if they don't line up, that's probably why. And just a little backstory. Kelsie and I were actually just talking, and I was like, you know what? I think we should press record and we should share with people our conversation. And so Kelsie, just kind of give us an overview how you're feeling through all of this.
Okay. Um, I feel like now I'm good. I've been a little rocky. For people that don't know me, because that's probably a lot of people on this. I am biracial. My mom's white, my dad's black. So this has been a very rough time for me. Because I feel very conflicted in who I am as a person, being 24 and finally realizing that I don't need to pick a side, but I need to voice my opinion for what I believe is right.
Yeah.
And I feel like for so much of my childhood, I always was trying to pick a side.
Yeah.
And living primarily with my mom and my stepdad, like, we were raised on the north side of Kenosha, so like all my friends were white growing up for the most part, and I was never white enough, or for my few black friends growing up, I was never black enough.
Yeah.
So I feel like through all of this, I've done a lot of soul searching. I've asked God for help a lot more than I have in a while, and yeah, so I think I'm doing better now. I was a part of the peaceful protest in Kenosha, and that really opened my perspective on how our voice is so important too.
Yeah, and I know we were just kind of talking about this as like we always and like this is real. We always judged. I'm trying to keep my chair covered. It's really ugly, guys. I'm sorry. We always judged protesters. Like if I saw, I don't know, I'm thinking like vegan. All right, I know it's lame. I'm probably gonna get slammed for whatever. But like I see protesters and I'm like, that's how you want to spend your day? Like, does that really make a difference? Will that really make an impact? And I think what we're seeing for the first time is the answer is yes. And this is kind of new for me that like our voice does equate change. You know, and so I just think it's so powerful. I would love for you I know we talked on like this idea of like this token black girl and your experiences through that. I know. And even so much as your hair and that pressure. And so can you kind of like share with us how you're feeling this differently from being the token black girl in a biracial family?
I mean, growing up, I was always the token black friend. And I mean, even one time, I didn't even tell you this, one time in high school, one of my best friends was like, Kel, sometimes I forget that you're black. I was like, I think that's a good thing, but like, I'm kind of offended at the same time, because don't say some bogus stuff around me.
Right. Code switch.
So I think, yeah, it's always been interesting. And like one of our church friends, Ari, like she posted today too, this great thing about talking about what white people kind of expect from you and what black people kind of expect from you, especially from a family standpoint. Like I'm gonna hang out with all my white friends for the weekend. I need to straighten my hair.
Right.
Take a bunch of cute pictures, and I need to look right.
Right.
And be able to like have my hair down and like do a flip if I have to.
Yeah.
But then like, you know.
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah, like that like run through really quick flip. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm like, y'all, I have mixed baby hair and it doesn't like the humidity, so I need to wear it curly, so we're just gonna have to accept the top knot and rock with it. But I think as an adult, especially in the last, I think, year and a half, I've really started to embrace my curls.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of did a switch for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it wasn't humid out, they'd probably be down right now. But keep an idiot's house.
I'm really proud of you for wearing your hair curly, because you said before this, you were like, I was going to straighten it. And then I read that and I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear my hair curly. And so thank you. Thank you for blessing us with your curly hair, because it is beautiful.
Oh,
so you. I would love, I think there's something that you're experiencing that is, and we're seeing it. We talked about this. There's so many conversations about the Black community, and there's so many conversations about the white community. And so as a biracial friend, how do white people help our biracial friends walk through this season?
I think listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds super cliche, because that's kind of what everyone is saying right now, like, just be open and listen. But being biracial in this season of life, and with all the traumatic stuff going on, I feel like it's very hard. I know that it is very, very hard and heartbreaking for the Black community.
Yeah.
And it's hard for the white community in a different way. But from a biracial person standpoint, and this is just me personally, like, I don't want to speak for all biracial people, but it's been really hard, because I feel like I either need to be all for my Black side and be like, oh, officers are terrible and da-da-da-da-da, or I need to be all for my white side, which consists of a bunch of cops, and is like, you want to know what, like, back the badge and da-da-da-da-da. And from my standpoint, I just want to be heard. And just, it's a very hard divide, because the world sees me as a Black person. I mean, it is what it is. They don't see me as, oh, that's a tan white person.
Right.
Like, no, that's a Black person. So yeah, I think just really people being open to understanding the confusion that comes from biracial people.
I think what I would love for us to chat on this, because we both come from families of police officers. And this is, I had to really stop at the beginning of all of this, because there's something in us that wants to bucket Black Lives Matter and back the badge. We want to say, like, well, I believe Black Lives Matter, so does that mean I don't back the badge? I back the badge, so does that mean I don't believe Black Lives Matter? And I don't even know which friend told me this, but thank you to the friends that are walking me through all these weird questions, because they said, Brett, they're two different issues. You can back the badge and Black Lives Matter. You can be both. And so I just walking through, I know you feel this. And so give us some insight how you're kind of navigating this in your own mind.
I am all for the saying that's going around of all lives matter won't happen until Black Lives Matter. But at the same time, I feel like as a nation as a whole, we need to accept the fact that all officers are not bad. All police enforcement are not bad. And it's okay to back the badge for the people that deserve to wear the badge. And we have officers, like you said, 14 officers showed up yesterday. Our sheriff showed up at ours yesterday with a bunch of officers and kneeled with us. Like, they're just as upset that someone is representing them and doing these terrible things. And not just someone, but multiple people. There are still officers out there not doing great things. Those are the people that have the badge on that I don't support. I do think, and I've kind of had a couple talks with my uncles that have been officers, that are retired officers, retired captains, all of this stuff. FBI agent, like, my family has it all on my mom's side.
They do though.
And it's a whole lot. And Black lives need to matter. And blue lives will always matter. But I think it's okay to take a step back and say that I respect the officers that are helping. I respect the officers that are supporting.
Yep.
I respect the officers that are good at their job and protect us and want to make a change. But for right now, Black Lives Matter needs to be in the forefront of everyone's vision, if it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense because, you know, yeah, and even I think the officers will agree with this. I know the ones in Zion did yesterday. And if you're listening to this later on, we're talking about the Kneel for 9 event that happened throughout, I think it was the nation yesterday. But, you know, you're right on par where there's a lot of police officers that are devastated by this that have worked really hard to build those relationships. And I think it's just so important that we don't bucket them together. You know, that it's about time they have their own buckets because they each carry their own water. and we tend to try to pour them in and say, well, I can't be both. And yes, you can. You can back the good badges. And Black Lives Matter. And so that is so good. What else? I don't know. We were talking about so much.
I know. I'm trying to think. I had something and then it left me.
Oh, here.
Oh, I got it. See, you caught it.
Got it.
And like when it comes to everyone having their own bucket, I think one of my hardest things have been that I've been trying to communicate over and over to people of the Black community and the white community, aka my family.
Right.
Like, my family is very supportive, so I'll never say that they aren't, but there is learning, I think, that needs to be done. And all I keep saying to them is just like the white community doesn't want every officer to be clumped into this terrible person that hates Black people and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Well, every Black person isn't a looter and isn't a rioter.
Right.
So many people want this peaceful protest.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the protest and then you want to talk about the looting and the rioting, make sure that you differentiate who you're talking about. Because when you're saying, I want the protesting to stop, why?
Right.
Why do you want people using their voice and not their hands to stop?
Right.
So I think it's very important to divide that part as well. And I think that's where so many people in the biracial and the Black community are getting so upset because so many people aren't a part of that. Like I saw a post today saying that the south side of Chicago is devastated because their local grocery store was ransacked, and someone commented on it and said, oh, why would they be sad about that? Like they didn't see it coming. The people that were peaceful protesting didn't want that to happen.
Right.
So why wouldn't they be upset that their pharmacy is gone and their grocery store is empty and they have nothing for their kids?
Right.
Just because people are taking advantage of this situation and not seeing the good that can come out of this and are just seeing their selfish focus on what they can gain from it, essentially.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, everyone
needs... on that note, I've got a question for you. So I was watching the news last night, and it was mostly white people walking in the north side of Chicago. It was a large amount of white people walking for Black Lives Matter. And so being biracial, how does that make you feel, having a hand on both sides?
I think it makes, being biracial, it makes me feel more confident and comfortable in being myself. That makes sense. I don't know, like at the Kneel for 9 in Kenosha, I got there a little late, so I was towards the back, and I was surrounded by all white people. And I was just like, you want to know, like I said to you earlier, but people don't know that. Like for the one Black person that can speak up.
Yes. If
2 white people can speak up and elevate that person and just feed into what they're saying and support that, we would have so much growth. And so I think by white people coming out and being so supportive and walking and marching and protesting positively and just kind of putting positive fuel under the Black community's fire, for lack of better words, like in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
we're only going to grow as a nation. I mean, that was shown by every single state across our country.
Yeah.
Hawaii and Alaska included.
Right.
Right. Like,
All over.
Right. Everywhere there
Yeah.
was a peaceful protest of some sort that there needs to be a change. So I think by white people showing up and using their voices just to support the Black community is going to, right now, I feel like some people feel divided.
Yeah.
And I think by all of us coming together in these spaces, it just allows us to grow as humans, not as that white person is growing, that Black person is growing, that Hispanic, Latino, Mexican, like those people aren't just growing. We are uniting as a people that we all bleed the same.
Right.
And we do. And so.
Yeah. Well, and I know we were talking about this earlier because as a white girl with a platform, I feel kind of caught in between this balance of not wanting to feel like this white savior, you know, like I'm going to come to the rescue and I'm going to tell people what to think. And at this, I mean, I know it sounds really straightforward, but like
I know.
These are real thoughts I have because that's what white people do. I don't know a better way to say that. Like, and so it's kind of finding this place of not wanting to feel like the rescuer, but also understanding that for whatever reason, systematically, white voices have more power in the past or what we're walking through right now. And so it's trying to figure out how do we use our voice to not feel like the savior, but also to ensure that the right voices are being elevated. And it feels like such a fine line. And I don't think there's any right answer. I think we're going to get it wrong a lot. Just like you said, people are learning, you know, and learning is messy. But yeah, so any thoughts around, I know that we were kind of chatting about that as well, but I don't know, any thoughts around it?
Yeah, I just really think is because I totally get the savior part.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the white community, and again, this is just biracial benefits. I see both.
Right.
Like
I see both, but they don't see me as both. That should be the hag. That should be
the biracial baby hashtag.
Right. I see both, but they don't see me as both. There you go.
Boom. We're gonna start.
Ooh, that's good.
That's real good.
Keep going.
Some of your snaps. I think that I don't remember because that was really good. I liked that.
Great. What were we talking about? Oh, white savior.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the white community is sometimes fearful of speaking up. I mean, you've expressed that to me. My mom's expressed that to me. Some of my friends have too. And because I might get some backlash for this, but the Black community as a stereotypical whole are very strong individuals.
Yes.
And I'm going to say we.
Yeah.
We feel like we've got this. Like we had to fight through, our ancestors had to fight through slavery. Our ancestors had to fight through civil rights. We have to fight, our generation has to fight through police brutality. I mean, so I think it's just more of the Black community trying to take on this by themselves. So I think that's why sometimes the white community gets very, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything because I'm going to have backlash from the Black community, and that's not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
And being biracial, I've seen that standpoint because, and my mom will probably watch this and she'll probably be upset that I'm saying this, but I'm throwing her business out there. But I had said to her the other day, being a mom of 2 biracial daughters, and she's a built-in ally.
Yeah.
Because her voice as, ooh, my dog might bark. Her voice as a white woman is, like you said, just the way that history and government and politics roll. Her voice is stronger than mine.
Yeah.
And her voice will be heard faster than mine. But if she can come in with me speaking my piece, and just kind of pushing in under that of like, this is my opinion, this is how I'm going to support you, these are the things I'm going to say, this voice will be heard louder because these ones are helping support that.
Mm,
So yeah, I mean, I
that's good.
can understand the not wanting to come in and feel like the savior,
Yeah.
but sometimes whether people like it or not, they kind of just need that saving grace and
Mm-hmm.
need that help. And people don't like to ask for help,
Yeah.
especially the strong Black community doesn't like to ask for help.
Mm,
That's proven in everyone's families. So I
yeah.
hope I'm not offending anyone, but like, I know my uncles don't like to ask for help. My dad never did. Like,
I think as a human race, we don't like to ask for help.
right.
You know, like there's something in us that feels like, no, I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this. And so it's a really interesting perspective to like, it's almost like the Black community saying, hey, we don't got this.
Mm-hmm.
White people, where you at? Like we
Right.
really do.
Like,
And
without saying it, we need you.
without saying that we need you, because if we don't have you, we can't do this. And it's time, you know, and I think that it's just such a, there's no right answer, you know, and I know we've talked about this. I mean, there is a right answer, and it's called equality and justice. It's also called Jesus. Like, I am not a savior. We are not saviors. We have one savior, just for the future reference. But, you know, there is something so powerful in being okay with being misunderstood, and that's hard. Like, white
Mm-hmm.
people hate being misunderstood. Everybody hates being
Mm-hmm.
misunderstood, but like white people with a platform really hate being misunderstood, and we're going to be misunderstood, and we have to become okay with being misunderstood.
And I think just because I've seen so many of my mom's side of the family post things and then either delete them or get super defensive, you're going, this is going to be really blunt. When you put your opinion out there, chances are someone in your white community is not going to agree with you.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and it's going to happen. And you need to be, not you specifically, but like
Right.
white people as a whole need to be, like you said, okay with not being understood,
Mm-hmm.
because you might not be understood by the Black community fully, because you might just seem like the savior that's trying to jump on
Right.
Black Lives Matter movement,
Right.
and you're not going to be understood by the people who just have that one track mind of it's rioting, it's looting, it's
Right.
bad.
Right.
So I totally get it. It's a very mixed up place to
It
be, and
is.
even from the biracial standpoint, it's been very hard, I feel, to voice my opinion.
Mm.
I've done it a few times now, but I've definitely gotten backlash a
Yeah.
couple of times from both sides, um, just because people feel like I don't have the right,
Right.
which is really messed up to say
Just
something.
like, no, it's not. Just like our friend Ari's post said, like, you're not Black enough to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said, you know you're biracial, but in public, people don't see you as biracial. They're not like, oh, I bet that girl has a white, you know what I mean? Like, they're not thinking that.
Right.
They're thinking she's Black,
Yeah. My face,
period.
I am Black, so
You know, she's Black.
yeah.
What's she doing? Kind of thing. And so I think it's just so powerful. Yeah, all of it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Um, I think through all of this, we all just need to be understanding and be comfortable for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want people in my life, people that are listening, regardless of which race you are, to be scared to understand.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not understand right away. But
Mm.
as long as you're taking the time to educate yourself on what the Black Lives Matter movement is
Right.
and what the people that are strong about that movement stand for, and how the white community can get their word out there to help this movement grow and to finally see change.
Mm.
And until we truthfully, as until we come together as people, there's not going to be a lot of change. And that's, I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. So I mean, I have continued prayers for growth amongst people and openness and willingness to learn. And yeah, it is kind of.
Well, and I think just to end on it, like there's a need for ample amounts of grace in this season. Just like you were saying, you know, some of the people that are stopping to consider, even my grandmother, I hope she doesn't watch this, but it's fine. Even my grandmother, who is, I think she's in her 70s. Oh my gosh, I don't know. But even the other day, she stopped and she was like, man, we've really got to pay attention. Something has to change. But that's going to take time. Like it took 72 years or however old she was. It took her that long to learn those things. And it's going to take us time to unlearn things. And I think there's got to be, we hope people get it quickly. We hope to do. But there are things that even I'm having to like dig up inside of me that I didn't know were there, you know, and so it's just so much grace is needed in this season as we all learn and unlearn the things that have just been ingrained in us. So yeah. So good. Thanks for hanging out, girly.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we did this. I know. For those of you watching, we were actually doing something totally separate and started talking, and here we are. So, Kels, I love you. Thank you for hanging out. Let's do this again.
Mwah.
Love you. You don't have to hang up. I mean, wait. I'm going to stop the recording. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.